Hello and welcome to People's Voice on VOP TV, the only station that speaks to your concerns, stories, perspectives, and voices as Nigerian citizens. I'm your host, Adefunke Jaisimi, and today we are diving into the complex and often contentious world of Nigerian politics. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, is facing a critical junction where its internal wrangling threatening to destabilize the party structure and defections from all parts of the six geopolitical zones of the nation, exposing the weaknesses, and these weaknesses have been covered up for the longest time. At the center of this storm is the Southeast Caucus, which has also issued a stark ultimatum unless Ude Okoye is appointed as the party's national secretary. The region may withdraw its long-standing loyalty and support for the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in its region. The leadership of the region stated this, and it's been said that we have been trampled upon. We are not taken seriously. If such a position were vacant in the South-South, it would not be like this. And now, it came to us. The usual thing is to play politics with the Igbo man. This is coming from the leadership of the Southeast Caucus of the People's Democratic Party. And for them, yes, we may have to reconsider our stand as far as this party is concerned. Well, for many Nigerians, it's a call to action. For many others, it's the usual way politicians are already thinking of the alternatives, but maybe they just need a little bit of negotiations before taking the final decisions, looking at how much of defections we're experiencing. It's not even a thing of the past anymore. It's about every new day, new defection news, and it's no longer surprising to many Nigerians. But this development has sparked a heated debate with former governor of Rivers State, Sam Wike, who is now the minister of the FCT, weighing on the matter. And for him, while the Southeast leaders have said, as a political family, the PDP in the Southeast zone has the right to take a position on the matters that affect it one way or the other. In a recent interview, the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, made some provocative remarks suggesting that the Southeast region's threat holds little weight, given the region's inability to produce a significant victory in elections. Wike's comments have ignited a firestorm, with many people questioning if truly PDP still have a party guided by a constitution, if at all the parties existing, the implications for the party's unity, and the Southeast region's role in Nigeria's politics. Meanwhile, in a separate story, but equally contentious issue, it's been said that the National Assembly, with a bill proposed by the Speaker Tajuddin Abbas and co-sponsored by Daniel Agor, has passed its second reading, which would make voting compulsory for every Nigerian citizen that is of age. The bill's proponents argue that it would help curb voter apathy and vote buying. But on his part, the human rights lawyer Femi Falana SAN has vehemently opposed the bill, declaring it unconstitutionally. Well, seems like Femi Falana is speaking the minds of a lot of Nigerians, because even in the House, we saw a video of some of the House members saying that, this is not the way to go. As a matter of fact, it is never the way to go. You cannot punish people for not participating in an electoral process that they do not even trust to start with. Many have argued that there are many situations to be looked into when it comes to elections in Nigeria, and for the House, going as far as proposing such bill and passing the second reading feels like the House is becoming idle and doesn't know what to do with the Nigerian people. But as we explore these issues on People's Voice today, we'll examine the potential consequences of the PDP's internal conflict and the proposed bill on compulsory voting. We'll also analyze the implications for Nigerian democracy and the role of key stakeholders in shaping the country's political landscape. So stay with us today as we dive into this very critical, concerning issue and seek valuable insights. So do well to call in or text us on 090-4473-2605. or tweet us using the hashtag People's Voice on VOP TV. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Voice of the People TV and follow us across all social media platforms at VOP TV Live. Like our posts, comment, and share them, and make your voices heard. It's time for a quick break. When we come back, we would get real and engaged on People's Voice. Stay tuned.
some.
Many thanks for staying with the People's Voice on VOP TV. Still on the political scene, the former governor of Ebonyi State, Dr. Sam Egwu, has responded to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, over his disparaging comments about the Southeast PDP leaders. Egwu described Wike's remark as reckless and unguarded, particularly his personal attack on specific individuals. The Southeast PDP leaders are threatening to reconsider their relationship and stand with the party if the national leadership fails to resolve the crisis over the national secretary position. But Wike dismissed their threats as empty, questioning the leaders' influence given their state's poor electoral performances. Egwu countered that Wike's boast about producing his successor is short-lived as his influence will soon wane. He challenged Wike to allow his successor, Siminala Ifubara, to operate freely and questioned Wike's insistence on controlling Rivers State politics, which Egwu believes has led to the ongoing crisis in Rivers State. Egwu also emphasized that most outgoing governors produced their successors and credited his own influence in Ebonyi State for producing not one, but two successive governors, that is the person of Martin Elechi and his immediate successor. That, well, some will say these are arguments, some others will say that this is something that is traceable, these are questions, things that you can ask questions about. And for Nyesom Wike, there's a lot of power in his hands right now. I mean, it's not easy to roll with the presidency. But whatever your position is, let's talk about this pressing concern for citizens who cannot. No citizen can come out as an independent candidate. We just have to go through a political party. So for the people, it's more about the legitimacy, the influence, and the strength of these political parties. But joining me to discuss this interesting conversation this afternoon is Mr. Dele Fanimo, our VOP in-house senior analyst. Good afternoon, Mr. Fanimo.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. I've been talking about the PDP's internal conflict and particularly the Southeast caucus, the threat. And for a lot of people, it was normal, as zoning is something that has been in the system for a long time. But they are also talking about the threat to consider their relationship with the party. The Southeast PDP caucus is demanding that the national leadership resolve crisis over the national secretary position, threatening withdrawal, which someone like Nyesom Wike has felt that wasn't necessary. But do you think that this is a legitimate concern, or is it just power play? Or for many of those people, they want out of PDP, they don't know how to go about it, so they're just looking for the opportunity to say, okay, this is what we're holding on to defect?
You see, PDP as it is today can be likened to a vehicle that has been cannibalized and it doesn't have a brain box. Without a brain box, all the electrical components of that car is useless.
Sorry, these are even heavier than the position of Nyesom Wike. Why did you say this?
Good. I'll tell you. I'll give you the background. You see, most times when we want to talk about some of these issues in politics, we tend to look more at the symptoms and not the ailments. Now, PDP started its adventure into ICU. I mean, intensive care unit.
Wow.
During 2023 elections. Before that election, Southeast and South were the dominant states for PDP in the South. As a matter of fact, there are in some states, the figure of those who registered and the figure of those who voted always remain unchanged.
Like there's a ready-made template.
Nobody would have died in 4 years nobody would have migrated in 4 years.
So no subtraction, no addition.
So for between 2000 and 1999 and 2015,
okay,
you can predict where PDP is strong. No particular state in the southeast and south were swing states in any election in this country for this period. Now, because Peter Obi was contesting, these people that are now saying they want to defect from APC, from PDP, they say they don't want to have anything to do with PDP if they don't return Ude. Where were they when Labour Party swept through the 5 states of the southeast? That PDP, that was having a clear dominance of those states, lost woefully, that they could only garner between 3 and 5%.
That could be because of the wave of the moment at the time.
What I'm telling you is that wave of the moment will now count against these PDP people in the national equation, because they will say, if you are that strong and big, tsunami that came in the mold of Peter Obi shouldn't have swept you to the point that you are coming from 75-80% to 3 to 5%. That margin is too wide.
Won't you rather make a case for them, knowing that Peter Obi was also a part of the People's Democratic Party, and it was understandable that the campaign to the Labour Party at the time would also make him live with some people? We know what happened when the Atikus and the Sarakis walked out on PM, on Goodluck Ebele Jonathan at the time, and the result was there to show. And we know that the stronghold of Peter Obi at the time is also the Southeast, being a former governor in a southeastern state.
You see, what I'm saying is, some states are traditionally not PDP states. For instance, Ondo State, where I come from, no matter how hard PDP tries, PDP was not like, since the demise of Agagu,
even he lost his seat in court even before he died.
So it is taken for granted that you can say PDP is not likely to be a dominant party in Ondo State. But they always have strong showing. There is no election in Ondo State that PDP will not have at least 25 that is required constitutionally to count that state among the states PDP had made strong showing. So, what that tells you is that technically, even when tsunami is coming, they don't have anything to mitigate the tsunami. So if you now are not coming from that weak position to negotiate power, how would you want to negotiate power and believe that you are negotiating from the point of strength?
Okay. But the party has the way it zones the leadership. Do you think that the Southeast PDP caucus demand are reasonable or unreasonable, or do you think that they are overstepping, or maybe they feel too bigger than what they actually are?
They are feeling too big. And that's what the psychologists will call grandeurs of delusion. You know, when somebody suddenly sees one agbada and he puts it on, a mad person, you know the first thing he will think? He will raise his shoulder and walk majestically, because that grandeur of delusion is telling him that he's already a king. But everybody knows that he's not a king, that he's not mentally all right. That's what is happening in Southeast PDP. Already, they are going back, which is called, what do they call it in psychology now? Regression. You know, when you go back to those things that you were before but no longer now, and begin to exhibit those things that makes you what you were then.
Oh, like I get property, I get them before and no be property.
So the point is, PDP in the Southeast, rather than contest all these things should look inward and begin to look at where they got it wrong and begin to build structures to enable them come back to reckoning. As it is today, how many states do PDP have in Southeast out of the 5? Imo is in APC, Anambra is APGA, Lesotho, Labour Party. The only person, Umba, and who else? Ebonyi is it PDP? I don't think so. So the only PDP state in the southeast is Mba, and is being touted to follow Akwa Ibom state governor to APC. So people have cited him.
There's a shift already.
That is romancing APC.
So you think that the strength of the PDP in the southeast has been shifted?
Now, if you don't have anybody that can speak about your party, for your party, in governors forum in Southeast, and you don't have a state you are controlling, which means by now APC is more dominant. APC has 2 states. But
the party has been working on reconciliation, which it was
that will never happen
that Saraki was supposed to head that committee. So if that is the projection for the Southeast Caucus of the People's
question you ask
Democratic
yourself
Party, is it not fair for them to want to position themselves ahead of this reconciliation, hoping that things turn out well?
How do you project reconciliation in a combative mode? If you are my friend and we are estranged, and then I'm telling you that, okay, let's sit down at the round table, and then in the same breath I'm issuing out threats to you, how would you be comfortable with any reconciliatory move that I'm making?
Okay.
Why would PDP want reconciliation? And a bloc, which is the Southeast, is threatening to pull out or unless they get what they want. Which one is stronger? Is it the party or the individual?
While that is valid, how do you think the PDP's national leadership can address these concerns and prevent further fragmentation? Because there are possibilities that this threat might come to life, but what are the potential consequences for the PDP if the Southeast Caucus decide to follow through with their threat?
If they follow through with their threat, then there must be an underlying influence.
That was why I started this section with the point that is it a genuine concern about wanting a stake as a region, or is just about looking for something to hold on to?
You see, it's like a blind man. You call a blind man in the morning and say, that movie was very interesting last night. He said, why didn't you wake me up? Even when he was awake, did he see anything?
He could have been hearing. I mean, if he's not seeing, he could hear.
You go to movie to see, not to hear.
But from hearing, you might be able to add 1 or 2 together.
That is imagination. And imagination can run riots. Now, what I'm telling you is that PDP, as it is today, is like a truck going down the hill without brake. But what happens to it? Have you ever imagined if a truck is driving on a slopy terrain down the hill and there is no brake? What will happen to that truck?
Mr. Fanimo,
it will crash.
The minister of the FCT.
I understand what you are trying to get from me. What you want to ask me, what is really the problem with PDP and how do they get out of this problem? The problem with PDP is they have built a monster they cannot tame.
So I wanted to say that the FCT minister might not agree with you saying that the PDP is...
Okay, why is he the one? Why is he the one tackling anybody that says anything in PDP?
Okay, so that's where I'm going to. Because on his part, he has said that he is with the PDP. He has reaffirmed his commitment to remain in the People's Democratic Party.
You don't fight. You don't fight outside the ring.
No,
you fight within the ring.
No, I'm going somewhere because despite serving in this current administration, he has said, even in a recent interview, he established this position saying that he is not intimidated and won't leave the party. And he has likened the situation to someone that built a house and is being asked to vacate. Even though some people keep questioning. I saw in an interview earlier today where someone was saying that, oh, this party was built since 1998 and where were people like him? But the truth is, he has expressed frustration with the Southeast PDP leaders, particularly the former governors Chide and Sam Egwu, and he has accused them of not being relevant, which is a strong word, and said that they are actually issuing empty threats. But he contrasted their lack of influence with his own achievements in producing governors and National Assembly members, which Egwu has come to say that it is natural for any outgoing governor to choose a successor, even though in many states that is not their reality. He also talked about the fact that it will not be contested, that even if PDP decides to zone the tickets to the south, he's not going to be contesting against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And he was the one that even said that, oh, if the PDP wants to have a stake in 2027, they better zone this ticket. You know, so these are conflicting conversations. But while you might want to question the position of the PDP, we also see chieftains of the party like Dan Obi supporting Nyesom Wike's decision, saying that the party gave him the permission to take up the appointment because he wrote to relevant organs in the PDP. And this is very, very not funny. This can be annoying. I don't even want to go professional now, because for Nigerians most of the time, they see an individual, a political party, as an alternative to something they are running away from. So when you wake up the next day to see the people that you felt that, oh, these are lesser evil that must have found themselves their way into a new bottle, at least for optics' sake, and they're doing what is not expected of them, how then do you hold such people accountable? What is the position of the people? Because for Nyesom Wike, and still having people within the same party saying that, oh, some people will be thrown out of the party come May or June. That is from Bode George. These other statesman of this saying that no, Nyesom Wike does not have any problem. He wrote to the right organs and they approved his acceptance of this appointment. What do you make of the position of Nyesom Wike in all of this, and the position of the Southeast leaders too, trying to take a stand, regardless of what you think about the survival of the party or not?
Now, let me tell you, it has been in the news for God knows when that Wike took permission from the hierarchy of the party before he went to serve under this administration. And he's not the first person.
So why do people keep talking about the party not suspending him?
Bola Ige was a chieftain of AD.
Yeah, when he took appointment.
And when he was to go and serve with Obasanjo of PDP, he took permission from everybody that matters in AD. And they gave him the go-ahead. So Wike is not going to be the first person. Now, when this party was in comatose, it was Wike that resurrected PDP.
So is resurrection equivalent to building? Because he is saying that it's like somebody telling somebody that...
Of course. If somebody is in the throes of death, and death is staring that person in the face, and somebody brings drug, inject that person, and that person starts walking, who is the architect of the new person that has emerged from a comatose state that is waiting to die, and now is now a strong person?
So we can still call that person the Lord of the person.
Yes, and that is why the man was very smart in his calculations. He knew that if he had left PDP to its own, the same way Buhari left National Assembly leadership in his first term, and Saraki and co became a thorn in his flesh. So politicians are very smart. They learn from the mistakes of their predecessors. So Wike knew that if he allowed PDP to remain the way it was, and it doesn't have any interference in PDP, by now they would have dealt with Wike. So what he did was, while he was going to APC to serve, he made sure he institutionalized
the PDP
with his people.
Both state level and national level.
NWC and NEC. He made sure he planted his people. And so anything that is brought against him today in PDP is BID.
So you have people for and those against.
It's always brought in death. And that's why nobody can do anything for Wike as PDP is presently constituted. And so shall it be to 2027.
But Mr. Fanimo,
if Wike announces today that he's leaving PDP, that means the assignment he was given, he has failed to do it. One of the assignments is to make sure that PDP remains the way it is until after that election.
What's the evidence to back these claims? where are the evidence?
No, evidence is clear. I will tell you. What is Wike's problem? That everything that is said in PDP is the only person that reacts to it.
Okay, before we go deep into that part of it, it seems like that comment from Nyesom Wike in that interview about the Southeast has added more fuel to the fire, and it doesn't seem like it's going to help the situation of the PDP. Do you think that his remarks will have lasting implication for the party generally beyond the Southeast now? Because if the Southeastern people take his words and act on it, because he has told them to go ahead with whatever they wanted to do because their threat is not it. So if they decide to man up and say, okay, we are who we say we are, and they decide to take a walk, is there a possibility of the PDP surviving from this ICU you placed them in? Let
me tell you, even if the Southeast PDP caucus decides to remain in PDP, because they are smarting from the way Ude was taken out as secretary of the party. And they know that the secretary of any organization is like the live wire of that organization. The chairman is just ceremonial. And the vice president, the vice chairman or deputy chairman or whatever position is just on the fringe. So who rules the party? It is the secretary. Because every administration, everything rests within the office of the secretary. And it was like a big blow to the Southeast.
But for the All Progressive Congress, their own chairman is actively playing these political games very well.
Which chairman?
The Ganduje.
Ganduje is APC.
That's what I'm saying. I said for the All Progressive, for their All Progressive counterparts.
See, let me tell you.
The game looks different.
Let me tell you. The party chairman makes all the noise. Makes all the policy statements, the direction of the party. But the internal workings that gives that fillip to the chairman is within the office of the secretary.
Okay.
You understand? So there is no way you can discountenance the strong position of that.
But since it has been zoned to the Southeast, so why is the PDP having a problem with retaining Ude?
You see, let me tell you, the undercurrent is very simple. PDP is still smarting from their total eclipse in the last election in the Southeast. They didn't believe. Even 10 Peter Obi will just bring them down from that Olympian height and crash them. And so they feel that, politicians, it is what you sow that you eat. That's why when people were holding Buhari to saying that, why should I leave somebody give me 97%, and begin to pamper somebody give me 5%. This is the calculation of an average politician. The average politician wants to make maximum use of where he has benefited than where there is strong opposition for him. Although the 40 laws of power, one of the 40 laws of power is you can keep your friend but draw your enemy closer. But in most cases, politicians hardly do it.
You said something that is quite interesting, that the PDP at the time, prior to the 2023 election, wouldn't have thought that 10 of Peter Obi would have been able to sweep the results in the Southeast. Does this mean that they weren't doing much work, or not? It wasn't as if any job was done. It was just about the people believing that we are for the PDP whenever it's time for elections?
Yeah, because
if so much work was done,
the stereotype had always been there all along that they don't even have an alternative. What could have been an alternative was APGA in the southeast. But along the line, the Anambra people took hold of APGA and they were not willing, or maybe they don't have the wherewithal to spread across the other southeastern states. And so PDP cashed in on it as a national party, and because of the benefits of having a national spread, they went with the PDP, and it was serving them better because at that point they had Senate presidents, the likes of Wabara, the likes of Enwerem, and the rest of them. And so there was no way, because that party was serving their interest at that time. So there was no way they would not queue behind that party. And that was why some of them didn't align with APGA.
Even when it was an APGA thing and there were political parties known for that region, what was said at the time was that the Southeast always aligned with the center power, with the presidency. But they didn't do this while President Muhammadu Buhari was in power. So is it really about aligning with the center, or there's something about the Southeast that they hold so much to the PDP and they feel like, okay, this is ours and we've invested in it for the longest, beyond the appointments of whether becoming Senate presidents or the likes?
You see,
because none of their voices are being heard anymore.
Calculations in politics is about number, it's about influence, it's about positioning, and it's about appointment or selection or whatever you call it. And so that's why they have this entitlement culture in politics. Look, I have done this. I need that to be compensated for my efforts. That's why some of them will posture as if they are the ones that brought somebody into power, and they begin to challenge him and say, look, if not for us, we wouldn't have been here. Then we need our due. You understand? So over the years, between 1999 and 2014, it was clear that the Southeast aligned with PDP. Even when Buhari contested, you will see that PDP was still dominant in the Southeast, because they didn't expect that Buhari would win that election. They felt it was going to be PDP's sweep along the state. But somehow, there was this surprise element, and Buhari emerged. And that point was when PDP started reducing in strength in the Southeast. And APGA came up strong to the extent that other states were even gambling with APGA. But 2023 came, the whole thing changed. And in PDP was the likes of Sam Egwu, the likes of Wabara, the likes of the man that is cooling his ears in UK. What's his name now? The former deputy Senate president. You know, and the rest of them, they just realized that the stakes are no longer as high as they used to think. And so some of them are already romancing APC. Because one thing about politicians is, it is their interest, where their interest will be best served, that they move to. It's not about the followership. It's not about development.
It's never about the people.
It's not about the people.
But let me pick on that one that you said that is more about the interest for them. I didn't want to mention Ike Kuremadu. I knew that was the person you were talking about. I refused to help you with that answer. But talking about interest and loyalty, the former governor of Benin, that's Egwu, he said something remarkable for some people, saying that yes, some Wike's relevance will soon fade out, and that it was normal or natural for him to have been able to choose his successor, and saying that the kind of influence he feels he has, he should leave Fubara to become whatever he wants to become and see if he can have a control over the political structure. in Rivers State. And he also talked about the importance of having a Fubara who is an independent entity, that's the governor of his own. And for Wike, where do you go from there if Fubara is actually left like a bird to fly? What's your take on this?
You see, I was just, when I read this Sam Egwu's position and that of Wike, I laughed. You know why I laughed? At a point, they had divergent opinion. But when it suited them, they aligned. The alignment was, I chose my successor. You also chose your successor. Is that not an alignment? It is. Now, at the point of divergence was when he said that Wike would someday in future not have relevance. Of course, everybody knows that there's no way you can defy law of nature, which says what goes up must come down. 2, empires don't last forever.
Right.
So, if he's predicting that, he's also suffering the same fate. Who knows Egwu in Ebonyi anymore?
Maybe students that participate in history in class.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe students of history.
You know, who knows him now in Ebonyi politics? It's just torturing. When you want to talk about politics in Ebonyi now, you are talking about even Elechi, that Umahi succeeded. It's not that strong.
Because he was saying that he played a major role in
Elechi
becoming governor, and even his successor with Umahi saying that there was no way any of that happened without him.
You see, sometimes we could delude ourselves and believe. You see, it's a case of the kings and the horseman. I mean, the king and the horseman.
Mr. Fanima, I will let you go into all of that details. Let's go on a quick break now. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we will talk about the proposed bill to make voting mandatory in Nigeria. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the People's Voice on VOP TV. It's been a very engaging and informative show. If you ask me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but we continue the conversation as we discuss the proposed bill to making voting mandatory in Nigeria. Renowned human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has strongly opposed the bill, calling it unconstitutional and impractical. For many, Femi Falana just spoke their minds. For a lot of people, this is what we have been saying, but finally there's someone vocal enough, loud enough for the world to hear saying the same thing. According to Falana, the bill contradicts sections 37, 38, 72, 77 subsection 2, 135 subsection 5, and 178 subsection 5 of the Constitution, which protects Nigerian citizens' fundamental rights to privacy, freedom of thought, and conscience. He also believes it's impractical to prosecute millions of Nigerians who might boycott elections, looking at the percentage of Nigerians who participate in elections every year. Falana argues that the compulsory voting can only be justified if Chapter 2 of the Constitution is made justifiable. He questioned the Speaker's intention behind the bill, that's Tajudi Abbas, suggesting that Nigeria might be following Egypt's example, which is the only African country with provisions for compulsory voting. He also said that the bill sponsors argue that it aims to curb voter apathy and reduce vote buying. However, Falana counters that compulsory voting cannot be legalized in a vacuum and that it's essential to address the root causes of these issues. For him, instead of compulsory voting, it's important implementing key proposals for the WISE electoral reform panel, which includes unbundling INEC, introducing proportional representation, ensuring timely resolution of election petitions, and establishing an electoral offenses commission, which I think that is fair enough, but a lot of people might not agree Let's further listen to Mr. Fanimo to know his position on what Mr. Falano has said. So again, good afternoon, Mr. Falano.
I'm not Falano.
Mr. Fanimo, far is far something.
Well.
But really, for Femi Falano SAN, he has said that he would rather recommend implementing key proposals like the unbundling INEC, introducing proportional representation, ensuring timely resolution of election petitions, and establishing an electoral offences commission. Even though there are some House members that have even said that the electoral process is the issue. If people don't trust the process enough, how then are you forcing them? If you have a system that works, you necessarily do not have to force people to vote. So what's your position in all of this?
The man just actually echoed my sentiment when he said that bill was unenforceable.
Maybe you are then a Falano then.
Maybe. But the truth about it is, it's not enforceable. If you are going to enforce that law, then you have to build about 50 additional prisons.
For who?
For those who will not vote.
And they might tell us to pay fine.
No, they should create more prisons so that more Nigerians will be in prison and then federal government will be feeding them.
Trust me, a lot of Nigerians, if it is the feeding part, yes, and there will be a special prison for that, a lot of Nigerians will willingly submit themselves to that.
See, the point is, let me just give you a brief analogy. Now, there's fuel everywhere now. There's no filling station you get to that you not see petrol to buy. And then suddenly, on this airport road, you see somebody holding 4-liter keg and is advertising, come and buy fuel. How do you see that person? You probably say something is wrong with him mentally. It's the same way. If you make our electoral process transparent and less cumbersome, and then votes count, everybody will want to vote. But in a situation where you go to a polling unit, just about the time you are ending voting, then you hear pra pa 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 pa. You run for your dear life. By the time you settle, you look back, the ballot box has vanished. And then the next day, you knew yourself that you voted for a particular party. Then that party you voted for, that you tucked your ballot paper inside the box, now got 0.
And maybe when the riot happened, maybe
okay, the ballot paper flew out of the box.
Because, see
no,
for them, the defense is that it's to curb voter apathy.
Why don't you
stop?
Why are you addressing the symptom? The symptom is voters' apathy, but the disease is voters' vote don't count. So why would I, when I know that my vote will not count at the end of the day, why do I have to suffer in the sun, queue endlessly, and I'll be hungry? Then one politician will now come and buy bread and cook for me.
Do you know what I'm thinking about? If a lot of Nigerians are not even voting, less than 30% are even voting, and we're having glitches, technical glitches, and IRF problems, will it not even be a bigger problem for the government?
That's another matter.
You now enforce all of us to go and vote because the server will just crash before we start voting.
Now, you see, this is just one of the issues that we're talking about. The point is, psychologically, if you know that you are embarking on a journey that will not fetch you anything, would you want to go? No.
But Nigerians can't give up on the system.
What I'm saying is, before you can tell me not to eat, there is this skit. One woman was asking his son. I said, you shouldn't eat from an enemy's house. The man said, but your friend didn't cook.
An enemy
cooked fried rice and chicken. In fact, he's even adding coke. I mean, Martina.
Is that so, going to the enemy's house tomorrow?
So before you can tell me not to be apathetic to electoral process, you must show me why I have to vote. If I stay in a polling unit and the polling unit was orderly, I voted, and at the end of the day, the votes were counted at that moment, and they send it through IREF, and then the following day, I sit back watching the television, and they say so votes from this polling unit, APC so number, PDP so number, Labour Party so number, SDP so number.
Okay.
And I know that was the true representation. Why did Ghanaians not go to court when Mahama won that election?
Why did Ghanaians not go to court when their president was declared winner? Is a question that we need to ask. But thank you, Mr. Falima, for out of time. We need to go. And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining People's Voice today. We've had such a thought-provoking discussion on the PDP's internal conflict, the position of the Southeast leaders, and here's some Wike's remarks. And also we talked about the proposed bill on compulsory voting. Until next time, stay informed, engaged, and keep making your voices heard. I am Adefunke Jaisime, and I strongly believe in this project, Nigeria. Nigeria will be great again. Good afternoon.